What's going on with our alien brothers here? Since we know that they're twins, might they be in a similar situation as Maki and Mai, where one has a curse technique and one is heavenly restricted? Let's talk about it. All right, first of all, shout out to EDG for asking me to talk about this today. And to begin, I want to break down what actually was happening with Maki and Mai so that we can then use that to kind of look at our alien twins. And in Maki and Mai's situation, we know that the universe viewed them as one person, one entity. Even though there were two of them, they only counted as one. And it's that unique facet that led to their weird situation, wherein Maki was heavenly restricted, but she still had a little cursed energy, which prevented her from fully awakening. And Mai had cursed energy and a curse technique, but she had such a weak amount that she really couldn't do much with it. Both of them were holding the other back because, again, they were only meant to be one person. So the universe kind of like split what they should have been amongst them, which is also why when Mai died, she took the little bit of cursed energy Maki had, which allowed her to fully awaken akin to Toji. Also, since we know that Sukuna was a twin, it's very likely that he had a similar situation, and that could be part of the reason he was so strong and also why he had this crazy body. Okay, so we're 2 for 2 on weird twin situations, right? So does that mean all twins operate this way in the world of JJK? And no, I don't think so, because this is an image we got of Maki and Mai in the womb. And as you can see, they are sharing the same like amniotic sac and placenta. Now, at the risk of getting too biological, here are all of the ways identical twins can form. And in particular, let's take a look at these bottom two examples, the monochorionic and monoamniotic. This is the exact type of pregnancy that Maki and Mai were. So it's likely that it's only this specific type of pregnancy that results in the universe viewing them as one person. Because again, there's only one amniotic sac and one placenta. And if you take a little step down here, that's what can lead to conjoined twins as well, which is likely what Sukuna was. So with all that being said, I don't think all twins in the JJK verse operate like Maki and Mai. I think it's very specific in rare circumstances where that happens. And we don't exactly know what kind of pregnancy led to Maru and Cross. Could they have been like Maki and Mai and Sukuna and his brother? Potentially, but they also might be normal twins, which means each could just have like their own cursed energy and their own curse technique. But maybe they are like Maki and Mai, because we've seen Maru use cursed energy, so maybe Cross is heavenly restricted. Let's take a look at what we do know to see if it can help us paint any type of picture. First of all, like I mentioned, we know that Maru has cursed energy and potentially a curse technique. I use air quotes because we don't know how these aliens utilize cursed energy. It might not really be equivalent to how human sorcerers do. We know that Maru just uses the phrase cursed energy and curse technique in order to relate to Yuka. So what we saw him use, his little harmony thing, may not be an actual curse technique as we understand it. It might just be an application of cursed energy. But in any case, he has it and is using it, right? So if there is a Maki and Mai situation, he would clearly be the Mai. However, this does get a bit more interesting because we know that he is worried about using it. He doesn't want to use his abilities because he says that they'll know. And later when he does use it, she's like, wait, didn't you say that like you couldn't do this because people will find out? And he says, oh, I'm not using very much. It won't be a big deal. But now how would anyone know if Maru used cursed energy? Well, it appears as if he and Cross have some sort of connection that transcends time and space. Whether you want to call that telepathy, some weird property of their cursed energy, or just that mysterious twin sixth sense, there appears to be something like that we even get a glimpse of in the very first chapter on the very first page. If you recall, the captain guy is talking about planet Earth, and Cross basically has an aside to himself where he closes his eyes, touches his third eye, and says, I see. And then he says, oh, did you find something out? And he basically reports, it appears as if there's people in Japan with abilities similar to ours. Now, we don't have this hard confirmed yet, but to me, I think he was like channeling information from Maru, or at least from another member of their species, right? Whatever we want to call it, it seems to me that Cross at least is using cursed energy in some form or fashion, which would mean he isn't heavenly restricted like Maki, at least in my opinion. Now, devil's advocate, if they were like Maki and Mai, we know that Maki did have some cursed energy, so maybe that could be true of Cross, and he's just using the little bit he has to still do stuff like that. Like maybe that's something any one of their species can do. But still, I would lean more toward them not being like Maki and Mai based upon that, because we've seen cursed energy usage from him, and we've probably seen cursed energy usage from him. But hold the phone, just because they're not exactly like Maki and Mai doesn't mean that they still couldn't be this unique type of twin just manifesting in a new way. Similar to how Sukuna isn't really exactly like Maki and Mai. If anything, he would be more like a Mai who awakened compared to Maki who awakened, right? But also, since he was a conjoined twin, he's got the extra limbs, the extra mouths. Like, there's too much unknown where we can't say exactly what's going on with Sukuna, but maybe there's just a third example of this weirdness with Maru and Cross. Perhaps even a third example where they kind of split the curse technique, as it were, where maybe each of them kind of has like half of the curse energy, as opposed to Maki and Mai where it was like 95%, 5%. At the end of the day, we just don't have enough information right now, but this is certainly interesting to think about. At least it is for me, but hopefully you guys like speculating about this as well. But for my money, I think they probably are some sort of weird situation, but maybe just not exactly like the ones we've seen, which, if so, would play perfectly into the story Modulo seems to be telling, and especially what Modulo even means, which I have a whole video explaining that, but the short version is, it's this symbol from modular arithmetic, which basically says, here are two things that aren't equal, but they are equal under certain circumstances. So here we have two sets of twins that aren't really the same, but you know, they kind of are in certain ways. So maybe this is just like a new expression of that type of thing that Gege is exploring. But hold on, we're not done, because the plot thickens, because we have yet another set of siblings who almost exactly mirror the Maki and Mai situation insofar as curse technique and heavenly restriction, except they aren't twins, right? So what's going on there? Is it even comparable? Is it even possible to have that type of situation outside of twins? I wouldn't think so, given all of the pregnancy talk we had earlier, but I mean, who knows? Let's see what Gege is cooking with all of these relationships paralleling each other. And then finally, y'all, I gotta give a huge shout out to Nicholas, who sent in and just wanted to know, what curse technique would I want to possess? And this largely depends on what we're talking about. So curse spirit manipulation is one of my favorite techniques. I think it's just so cool and versatile, and like, I'm basically a Pokemon trainer, okay? So I think I would want this if you're putting me in Jujutsu Kaisen, because obviously if you give me this in real life, it's useless, right? Because there's no actual curse spirits. So if you're putting me in JJK, I'll take this. Obviously, the Six Eyes and the Limitless would be incredible, but that's kind of a basic answer, and you know, Gojo kind of had a depressing life, all things said. So give me curse spirit manipulation. I mean, so did Geto, I guess. That's not a good reason, but give me curse spirit manipulation. I want a whole army of friends, okay? But if you're giving me a curse technique that I will wield in real life, then probably Wee, so I can just teleport wherever I want, because that would be so convenient. Also, I could probably make a lot of money, just like Mei by, you know, hawking my soul swapping services. So I'd go with one of those probably. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to let me know all your thoughts down below on what you think's going on with these twins. And as always, thank you for watching.